Hey, our nature viewers. This is Neil McLaren, and today is June 15th, 2014. Last video log, Ryan and I talked about getting some muscle for the next time we go into the forest, because, we got those menacing letters in the mail, and I decided that there might be a smarter route. Knowledge is power, so why don't we arm ourselves with some of that too? So I got in touch with a fellow university student at the University of Winnipeg. He's a research assistant in the history department. He works for a Canadian history professor. She specializes in Manitoba or Winnipeg history. I'm not really sure which. But either way, he has access to government documents and records, as well as archives that I don't know about, or may never have access to, or may never realize even existed. So he's an old acquaintance of ours. We used to play like Dungeons and Dragons, and I think my brother still plays like some role-playing games with him. So I figured, hey, it can't hurt asking if he might be able to help us out a little bit. So he tentatively agreed. But he said he doesn't have time to watch like 2 hours of uploads in order to know all of what's gone on. So he's requested that I do kind of a recap of what's happened in the last 10 months from last August to now, June, mid-June. So here goes, I guess. This all started back in August of 2013 when, my friend Chad Gillard, he politely let me know that my local park, Dakota Park, was going to be torn down for condos because he was moving into the condo development right across the street. So I guess that was like phase one, and them tearing down the park would be like phase two and phase three. So I started a petition to save the park, and by mid-October, almost the end of October, I had managed to get enough signatures, and I blocked the destruction of Dakota Park. And the community was happy. We all rejoiced. And though going through my video logs, one of the first ones I'd ever filmed, I wasn't able to put it up because it was just too distorted and corrupted, and I'd had like the video was just like snowflakey everywhere, and the audio just weird noises and stuff. It was just unwatchable. So I put it on a USB and sent it down to my brother's friend John, and he said he could clean it up. He's like kind of like an audio-visual guy, and he said he could clean it up, check it out. And he even took a look at the video camera we were using to see if there was like anything wrong with it or anything. He said there was nothing, but about mid-November, he sent me a text and told me that the video had finished. He had finished fixing the video I'd sent him. And I was glad, because I had been bugging him over the last few days about my USB, because I kind of needed it back. Like, I gave him a USB with the video on it, and it had, like, school stuff, and I needed it. So, I think it was November 14th. He shot me a text, told me, if I wanted my USB to come right then and there. So I'm like, it's kind of a dick thing to say. But anyways, me and my brother showed up. We went to his house. All the lights were off. No one was home. Door was locked. We went around back. We saw that John's room's light was on. So we went back to the door. Door was open. So yeah, okay, maybe he let us in. We go in the house. It's pitch black. No lights on in the house. All the doors were closed, or we didn't I don't know, we didn't want to go exploring through his house. We thought he was home. He wasn't home. Or if he was I don't know, hiding on us or something. So we went into his room. I got my USB. We saw all these weird notes plastered all over his room wall. We took those. Maybe we shouldn't have, but we took those. Because they were creepy and they were weird, and we were worried about John. And he wasn't around. And I kind of felt like I was being watched the whole time, to be honest. But we left. And we went home, and we watched what was on the USB. And it scares the shit out of me to this day. it is one of the first videos I took walking through the forest. I was at the very heart of the forest. It must have been like a cloudy or dark or very rainy day. There's something you have to understand about Dakota Park. The center of it is different from the rest of the forest. It's burned, and this burned patch never quite grows back. There's always dead trees, and they're always like twisted and gnarled and in weird positions and poking out at weird angles, and it never quite grows back. And there's weird like concrete everywhere that's been like rooted into the ground and that trees are growing out of and stuff, and it looks like it's been there for ages. And I was in there walking through. It was starting to rain, so I wanted to go back, but I saw a guy in a suit, and I figured it was weird as shit. Why is somebody in the middle of a forest in a full, like, nice black suit? So I kind of went up to him and I asked if there was anything going on. And when he turned around, there was something wrong with him, his face. I still don't quite know how to describe it to this day. He didn't have a face, but it wasn't like he was... It wasn't like he was born with no eyes, no mouth, no nose or something. It was something else. It was weird. It was almost indescribable. It was almost a mixture of like I couldn't see his face, or he didn't have a face, or I don't know. And I don't even know if calling it a he is appropriate or not. This is in a men's suit. You know, what else am I supposed to say? It chased me through the forest. I tried to get away from it, and it kept popping up behind me, in front of me. I couldn't get away. The camera stopped working. It mysteriously ended up back on my picnic table in my backyard, like filming, and I wasn't there till I pop up. Literally, I just appear. There's a bunch of weird distortion, and I appear underneath my tree, coughing rather horrendously, and spitting up a little bit of blood. I pick up the camera and I go inside. Like, I don't remember any of that happening. And we find out after that John has been missing since before he texted me to pick up my USB. And by missing, I mean like ran away from home, parents don't know where he is, nothing. So who texted me? Now after that, after we took the USB from his house, I started getting stalked by this thing in a suit on the street near my house, like standing under street lights, and just standing there, standing in the playground by the park, and just standing in the middle of the playground staring at me. Every time I was walking home from work, to the point where I started taking a taxi home. I started filming myself all the time. It started happening in November through December. I started shutting everybody out, stopped going out. My brother snuck into my room, took these videos, put them on the internet, hacked my YouTube channel, put them on the YouTube channel. And that's when I realized that I couldn't handle this alone. That other people knew what was going on with me, even if I didn't want to let them know what was going on at all. Ryan was worried about me and his friend, and it was wrong of me to keep him out of the loop. So we kind of like teamed up, agreed to, not keep any more secrets, and his friend Colin got in touch with us because his grandfather somehow knew about this thing in the forest, in the park, and his grandfather's dead, so we can't ask him anything, but he knew something, And when we went back in there, me and Ryan went back in there. We found like a structure, like a lean-to, and like eaten food and like clothes and stuff. So like somebody had been living there, and we think John's been living there. And because John left us these notes that were stuffed in my USB about like having gone to the forest and seen the thing in the suit in the forest, and it stalking him and hunting him and chasing him and following him, just like what happened to me. And then we don't see John anymore. So what's in store for me? What's in store for my brother? What's in store for our families? What's in store for the people we care about and love? We don't know. We could end up like John, disappeared one day and never to be seen again. So, after we found evidence of John, we went back in with Colin, Ryan's friend Colin. We saw the thing in the suit. It did something to us. We tried to keep running from it, but we turned into the burned patch, and instead of running, we got moved. I don't know how else to put that, but we were running into the burn patch, and then all of a sudden we were somewhere else in the forest, and I almost impaled myself on a broken branch, and we weren't where we had been running, and there was this giant like teepee-like structure, like a giant tent, made of like poles, and all of them situated around a tree. And there were notes plastered all over the inside of the structure. And it was waiting for us. The thing in the suit was waiting for us there, too. We ran, and we got out of the forest, but the second we got out of the park and out of the forest, something went wrong. Day became night. It was like, I don't know, it wasn't even 5 o'clock in the evening, and all of a sudden it was pitch black outside. My watch wasn't working, my cell phone was barely working, Colin wasn't with us. We were groping around, hunting around for him in the dark. We find him sitting underneath the thing in the suit, and we pull him away from it, and he's bleeding out of his eyes, out of his mouth, out of his ears, out of his nose, barely breathing, unconscious, weak heart. We took him to the hospital. He's been in a coma ever since. And like 2 weeks ago, those notes we saw inside the teepee structure, I got in the mail. Now, that's the recap. This is VideoLog16, the recap. I don't know, the last 10 months. Now, I'm going to go through the notes we found and record them for posterity's, like for evidence and posterity's sake. So, this is Neil McLaren, signing out.